All right.
Well,
My,
we
oh
want to
my.
welcome everybody to Activate Your Black Greatness. This is a wonderful adventure. So, Debrena, I'm going to let you kick it off, honey, as I let people come on in and let's go.
Oh my goodness. Well, hello everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am half of today's dynamic duo, and
Woo-woo!
you all are part of a historical occasion today because with all of the amazing things that my sister has done, all the amazing things that I have done, we have never had a joint event until today.
Until today. Woo-woo!
But we want you to know it has been a long time in coming. And Ericka will tell you more about Thelma and Rosetta and what the meaning of those two names means to us. So it has been a long time coming in our lives, but today, August 5th, is when it's actually happening. And this is actually a kickoff event. So you have entered into a doorway. We're going to call these free seminars that we do together around Black excellence doorway events. So you have entered through the door and you are now in the vortex where it's all about Black excellence and greatness. And I don't know if I see any. Oh, yes, we do have a brother on the line, at least one. Hey, LeJean.
Hey, hey.
I just met LeJean at a training I was at in LA. 4 Black folks out of 27, and I was the only Black female, had 3 progressive brothers in the class with me. LeJean was one of them. So he's
Hello, LeJean.
one of my new brother friends.
I love it.
So we just want you to know a few things. If you do not have your handout, then it's okay. You want to have something to take notes on. Both Ericka and I are huge on chronicling your learning. So you're not trying to hold it in your mind. There is no upsell. This is not a pitch to a 15-figure next seminar.
It's
No.
a 15-figure, yes.
Yes, 15 figures. This is a free, truly free standalone seminar with value add, and you just have to be here. And we'll tell you about the next one that we're doing near the end. And also we are doing a little bit of a different format. You know, normally you are kind of given a lecture model, and Ericka and I have decided to do more of a Q&A format. So like she's on the air, she's my guest on the Debrena Gandy show. I'm going to ask her a question, and then she's going to switch and ask me a question. So she doesn't necessarily know what I'm going to ask or how I'm going to ask it, I should say. And I certainly don't know what her answer is going to be. And I don't know how she might ask me the question that's revealing the 4 keys. And she doesn't know how I'm going to respond. So we're leaving room for some spontaneity, some speaking from our heart, and not so much the kind of prepared, which both of us are big preparers. So we're doing a little bit different today so we can really tap into our passion. We are both so passionate about this topic. And for those of you who might not know both of us, some people are just starting to figure out that we're actually blood sisters.
Oh, right. That's your sister? Yeah.
Yes, not my sister, my sister by blood.
Yes.
And so we were very fortunate to grow up in a household where Black excellence was the of course. It was the default. It was the level from which we lived. It was the level of our conversation. It was the level of how we lived and operated. And as Ericka and I have gotten older, what we realize we've taken for granted growing up in what we call a Black excellence household really is quite an anomaly. Excellence is an anomaly. And so today, as we talk about the 4 keys to unlocking your inherent power, we are going to be drawing on stories from the household that we grew up in that has shaped and informed who we are. We have a third sibling, our brother Nathaniel Jackson Jr., who is at this moment vacationing in Hawaii.
Better known as Nate Jackson. That's our
Nate
family
Jackson,
name. Yes.
who was on Wild and Out with Nick, who was on the Rock's show, Young Rock on NBC, that was a huge hit. He played Junkyard Dog, one of the wrestlers. So he's a national star. He's a nationally known comedian. And he's vacationing in Hawaii today. So
he's actually internationally known because he's done over 80 cities around the world. And he happens to own $1 million comedy club, the best, most amazing Black-owned comedy club, as the top comics are saying. Nate Jackson Super Funny Comedy Club. So we have to give our little bro our props. Out in Tacoma.
10,000 square feet.
Yes, baby.
Yes, yes. We also will be saving some time for Q&A, and depending on how this unlocking and revealing the 4 keys to you goes, we may have 15 minutes, we may have 10 minutes, but we are going to get in a little Q&A and as much as possible. We have a 5th key that if there is time, we will reveal that 5th key. If not, you will get to wait till the next doorway event in the Black Excellence series, and we'll be telling you about when that is near the end of the session. So Ej, I'm going to turn it back over to you for your part of the welcome, and then I will introduce you to this wonderful group that is joining us this afternoon or evening.
Awesome. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ericka Jackson James. Almost 7 years ago, got married. So I moved on from the Jackson last name. So if you saw Ericka James and Debrena Jackson Gandy, we are one and only sisters. We call ourselves the Wonder Twins, as we always have. You're going to hear, as Debrena mentioned, us talk about Thelma and Rosetta. And we are 3rd generation entrepreneurs on both sides of our family. And so we come from a lineage of people that have never looked to anyone else to define them or to determine their experience. And so we're speaking from that context tonight. We want to shake up, transform, get rid of some of the stuff that we've all been having to get through and get back to a place of understanding our nature is greatness. Our essence is excellent. And when you look with your naked eye, it doesn't always look that way. But whenever we show up and we set the standard, everything shifts. So we want to loose that, activate that in us tonight. And I'm so excited. One of the things that we used to do, we grew up in Lacey, Washington. Did you hear me? Okay, let me translate.
Like where?
Let me translate, because I have to get out of map. It's an hour south of Seattle, Washington. And I literally call it Lily Whiteville. And it's not so much that way now, as my brother grew up there. But when we grew up there years ago, the concept of having a strong sense of self as a Black woman was something our parents took seriously. My mother was valedictorian of her high school, could not get a scholarship down in Alabama, but Louisiana gave her a scholarship at Southern University, where she met my father, Nat Jackson, and they were intentional about getting their children out of the South. And they packed us up and drove up on affirmative action programs. My mother was a biochemist. My father was an agriculturalist, and raised us in Washington State. And so they worked very intentionally to make sure we were grounded, founded, crystal clear, and immovable in our identity as Black people and what that means. And so that's some of what you're going to hear overflow out of us tonight. And you're going to hear us talk about Thelma and Rosetta. So I have to tell you the story, and then I'll introduce my amazing sister. So we used to play at our kitchen table growing up in little old Lacey, Thelma and Rosetta. And these were the names we picked. We chose. I was Thelma, Debrena was Rosetta. And we would meet at a certain time. Go ahead.
Okay, so hang on a second. I still got to create a little bit more context here.
Go ahead.
Ericka said Lily Whiteville. So Olympia, Washington is the capital of Washington State, but it's about an hour and a half from Seattle.
Okay.
When we moved to Lacey, which is about 8 minutes from Olympia, you could count the number of Black families on one hand. And we knew everybody because we all went to the same little startup Black church. 5 Black families in the city. We just want to have you understand the larger environment that we grew up in. Okay, go ahead, Eve. Back to our schedule programming.
I don't remember how it started. I just remember that it started. And we would say, okay, let's meet at 4 o'clock and play Thelma and Rosetta. And we would gather whatever, we would have teacups, we would have little pieces of paper with pins, and we would sit and fake little accents from around the world, and we would talk about our lives in the present tense. And I would say, Rosetta, where are you flying from today on your private jet? And what speaking engagements did you have? And what television appearances did you have? And we used to practice our signatures because we knew one day we would be authors. And between the two of us, is it 8, 9? How many books have we written? 9 books?
Girl, you got me beat. You got 6.
You have 4.
I got 3 national and 1 self-published and 4 ebooks.
Oh, hush. So Thelma and Rosetta, we're modeling this at an early age. And we would talk about our lives. We would dream about our lives and our incredible husbands and our children. And so we are doing a super party of Thelma and Rosetta tonight. So
Good job, Thelma. Yes. I was Rosetta. Good job, Thelma.
Rosetta, I was Thelma, which happened to be my mama's name. So that tells you how awesome our mother is. Of all the names I could have picked, I chose Mama's. So, so I want to introduce you all to my sister, Debrena. She is 3.5 years older than me. She has been my mentor. She has been my best friend. She has been the one when I was the little chubby girl with the pigtails that stuck out in opposite ways and little boys called me fat, so she would beat them up. Do you hear me? She would beat them up. She has always had my back, always looked out for me. And she has moved forward in her life to be an internationally known author, a transformational specialist. We're not just motivational. It's about getting to the root and helping people transform to become who they were created to be. She is a prolific business owner. She runs Juicy University. She's written several books, of which you can see on her back area there, All the Joy You Can Stand. I don't know how many of you guys remember back in the day, oh gosh, Doobie, your first book, I see the very first cover. That
Sacred Pampering Principles.
Thank you. Sacred Pampering Principles, The Love Lies. And she is a transformational curriculum developer, a keynote speaker, and the mother of 3 of the most amazing young ladies I have ever met. She is the wife of JG, as I call him, Joe Gandy. But you will find you all like we have similar intonations. If I'm at Debrena's house, people will say, hey, is this Debrena? I'm like, no, this is Ericka. But it's fascinating because our paths have been different. And so the way we think, and I'll come to Debrena because I'll tend to go like, okay, I want to get here and I'll take 6 steps. And she's like, oh, no. All you have to do is do these 2. You don't have to do all that. And she is a master at getting to the result quickly and effectively. And she's always my go-to for that. And so I'm just so pleased for those of you who may have come from my list tonight and not known, my sister introducing Debrena Jackson Gandy.
Wow. So I already know I'm gonna be shedding some tears because I'm so grateful to have this sister. I'm so grateful to my mother and father, who were visionaries in their lives and in their communities, who wanted to make a better way, did not want their children growing up in the Jim Crow South. And I have a lot of sisters, and on this planet of 7.5 billion people, I have one sister. And to get this opportunity to co-lead with you after all those sessions of Thelma and Rosetta, and to see how much of what we spoke about and spoke into existence has become a reality. I can't think of anything we spoke that is not a manifested reality in our lives today. What a privilege. So this sister of mine, this one right here, is one of the most brilliant human beings that I know. And I know a lot of human beings and a lot of brilliant human beings. And she has been a leader in her life, in her schools, plural, since she was young. She's been, she was elected to be, was it the president at Nisqually of your class?
7th grade vice president.
7th grade vice president. She went on to be ASB president at Timberline High School. May have very well been the first Black ASB president at that school ever. Went on to Western Washington University and was on the leadership cabinet, was vice president of academic affairs as a freshman, the youngest person to ever hold that position. Went on to Howard University to graduate and started all kinds of empowerment programs. Was like a kid in a candy store after growing up in Lacey, went to Howard and almost lost her mind, but she did it in a good way.
That's a whole other story, but go ahead, girl, go ahead.
Oh, okay, that's another, that's another conversation. Oh my goodness. And she started her business right out of college. None of this working for 10 years for someone else and then going to start your business. And I remember when Ericka was at Howard, Iyanla Van Zant was starting to become very, very big. Her book, Acts of Faith, had come out. Her name started to become a household name. She had not yet been on the Oprah show. And I think Ericka may have seen her speak somewhere. And she says, I want to work for Iyanla Van Zant. And at that time, there's a lot of people saying that. And I will be darned, Ericka became the executive assistant and administrative lead for Iyanla Van Zant not that many years later. So this is the kind of human Ericka is. She says it, it shall happen. This TV show that she's recorded 9 episodes, that is world-class, excellent, the Ericka James show. Oh my goodness, she has been speaking about that for decades. And now here it is. So in addition to having her business, she also started the Kingdom Ministers Association. She started the, what is your Christian women's organization again, Ericka?
The Alliance.
The Alliance, yes. She is also a minister, so she preaches, she teaches. She attends a huge church in Raleigh, and there will be times where she says, you know, to the family, everybody watch because I'm going to be preaching. They would be definitely considered a really large church, and they're part of an international network, and she's the only woman on the board. International church and the only woman on the board. What the heck? Ericka D. James. She has written 6 books, multiple ebooks. She has some of the most most items in her store in terms of resources of anyone I have seen. She's a prolific content creator, a mother of Kali Jackson and wife of Anthony James. And you know already, given who we are, that the men that marry us have got to be amazing, right?
Bless them, bless them.
Bless them.
Bless them, Lord.
And so it is my honor and pleasure to introduce you to my sister, Ericka. So can you give her some love?
Woo! And my sister, Debrena. That is an amazing introduction because none of that is on my bio. Like very little of that. You went way back.
Oh, that's off the heart. That's up the top of the heart, baby.
Go, Rosetta. Go,
go. Oh, Lord. Okay. So here's the first key, y'all. So I hope you got 4 slots on your paper. Leave some writing space, or you can use your handout that we sent out. And originally we were going to do something called the 7 Immutable Laws of Black Excellence. And we decided we're going to wait on that and kind of just start off with some foundational pieces, 4 keys to unlocking your inherent power that are part of the larger conversation about Black excellence. So that will be coming at a later date. We're going to keep building what we want to have become a movement or a new movement, the new Black excellence movement, because that's who we are as excellent as people, but we need to return to Black excellence. So it's the new Black excellence, but not for the first time, it's a return. So with that said, we have 4 keys for you that we want to share tonight. And the key word is inherent, meaning it's already there inside of you and it was put there by the creator. The important thing is, how do you set it free? How do you tap into it? How do you unlock it? There are keys. So we want to give you 4 keys tonight. So my first question, the first key, and you all can write this down, is identity. The identity key is what I'm going to ask Ericka a question about. So one of the things you all need to know that I also just want to add in here is that my sister has a lot of spiritual gifts. And one of the spiritual gifts she has is of the prophetic. So she may flow in that tonight. So just be ready to pick it up if she puts it down. And she may not just be speaking from her personality. So with that said, my first question to you, Ericka D. James, yes, about identity, key number 1. In this day and age, there are so many of us that are looking to other places, spaces, people for our identity. So what do you have to say about this first key? Where should we be looking, and what is our true identity? And then I'm going to add a part C. And as melanated people, is there anything about our identity that we need to understand that is distinct? I hope you got all that.
Yes, absolutely. So many of us have been taught that our identity comes from our past experiences. Our identity comes from who we've been with, who we haven't been with, the relationships and the obligations of life, what we've created, maybe a business, all of these labels, all of these relationships, and none of it is where our identity comes from. Our identity comes from one place and one place only. I call it your vertical identity. It is the creator who created you, created your identity, allowed certain things in your life to occur so you can be equipped to build the capacity to walk in that identity and to fulfill your purpose. So us looking back at what I call your horizontal identity keeps you confused. It keeps you people pleasing. It keeps you always looking to other people to affirm, confirm, to see you, to give you significance. And we can spend our lives doing that. And so true identity can only come from the one who created you. Now, add a 10-time magnification on that, because as Black people, we were created with a specialty. We were created to carry the resonance of the Holy Spirit in us. We were created to change atmospheres. We were created to keep people grounded in their integrity. There's things that we are created to do, and understanding who you are as God's creation and who you are as what we'll talk about as a melanated person is so important to be rooted, immovable, and grounded in, because the world will try to tell you something else. That identity in us, you all, it is the most coveted thing on the planet. And there has been an absolute systemic attempt to keep us from our identity. And so that's what's so important about identity, where identity comes from. And when we are able to get clear from the inside out who we are. Woo, y'all, life never looks the same again. So anything you want to add to that, Debrena? Because I do have a question for you also.
Ooh, goodness.
Mm.
That was delish. I'll just leave it right there, because your question may have me touch upon what, if anything, I might add.
Okay. So we got to talk about everything, you know, some things we've accomplished in life, these amazing children and husbands we have. And it hasn't all been roses. You and I have both have challenges to overcome. I was a single mother for years, all kinds of stuff. And I want to know, how has knowing your identity gotten you through challenging times?
Well, one of those challenging times, and actually the most challenging time in my adult life so far for me, was when my marriage went into breakdown. And this goes back about 15 years now. But I did not realize how much of my personal identity was linked up and tied in with my marriage. So it really messed with me, messed with my identity. I questioned a lot of stuff about myself. And that fateful morning when I was in my prayer closet and I could not believe that it looked like we were going to become a divorce statistic, and it was really hitting me, I cried out in frustration. And I said, "What do you want me to do, God?" And God said, "Oh, I'm so glad you finally asked," and presented to me an invitation. And the invitation, I was told what the result of saying yes to the invitation was, which was my marriage being transformed, not just saved, and better than ever. And finally, after a lot of lamenting and wringing my hands and all that kind of thing, I finally said yes to the invitation, not really knowing what laid ahead as a result of saying yes. And my yes entered me into a 1-year process that I personally call my Queen Esther purification season. That was my nickname for it. And getting back to your question, the very first place that the Holy Spirit had me start, who was my divine mentor through this process, took me back literally to Genesis in scripture and said, the first place we're going to start with you, daughter, is with identity. Now I'm thinking, I'm pretty confident. I know who I am, blah, 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 blah. I don't know what the Holy Spirit's talking about. He says, let's have you be real clear about who you are from my perspective. I'm like, okay. And so I'll share with you what the process I was taken through to help me remember my identity as God entered me into this marriage transformation process. Step 1, identity. So the Holy Spirit says to me, well, let's take a look at the sequence. Everything I do is in order and purposeful. He says, what did I create first in the earth? I said, okay, creatures of the sea. Okay. What did I create second? Creatures of the air. Oh, like the birds. Okay. What did I create third? Creatures of the land, like mammals. He says, then what did I create? I said, man. He says, was I finished? I said, no. He says, well, what happened? I said, well, then you created woman. He says, now take a look at this order. Would you say that it's that each phase of creation, there is more advancement? I said, yeah. He says, now where did I put you? As a woman. I said, oh, at the apex. He says, now I also put a feature in you that's not in man. What is that? I said, the portal to life, the uterus. He says, yes. That's also why I have you as the apex. So I need you to understand that you are a gift, not a prize, a gift, that I made you that way. And I need you to walk in knowing that. You don't have to convince anyone. You have to prove it to anyone. Understand who you are. From my perspective, I made you. I was like, woo wee. So that to me, Ej, that's my nickname for my sister Ej, rearranged my DNA because I was feeling pretty darn low, self-esteem beat up, and to be reminded of who the creator made me to be.
Come on.
Versus looking to other created beings, because we can get real jacked up if we're looking horizontally or back horizontally to past and let that be your identity. You'll be messed up in many cases. So in all my church services that I'd sat in, I had never once heard any minister, male or female, talk about woman being the apex of all earthly creation and what that meant and the gift that we were to man and the planet. So that saved my life, so to speak, at that time.
Yes.
So yeah, that would be the identity piece that was so critical at a crisis time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. And getting back to understanding that greatness is in our DNA. Greatness is simply who we are. We do not have to prove, we do not have to beg, we don't have to do anything as Black people, but just show up and be excellent. And if you look across sports, if you look across academia, if you look across government, any arena that we get the opportunity, we take the opportunity, the opportunity to move in excellence, we rise to the top.
That's what we do.
That's who we are. And so it's about uncovering the greatness that is already locked in your DNA. And it's about understanding the shoulders that you walk on. Those were our personal identity experiences, but boy, my parents, especially my father, would sit us down. I used to just, I couldn't stand these gatherings. And they would say, okay, you need to know the shoulders you came on. You need to know how many people died so you can get this education. You need to understand that you are part of a legacy of people who have dreamed about, died for, and prayed for who you are. And there is responsibility in that, but there's power in that. And I just want to finish this one real quick, Debrena. I know we need to move on to the other keys. One of the many things I do is diversity, equity, and inclusion training. And God always sends me into these racist, white, evangelical Christians, always. So I'm going in, Lacey got me well rooted for this. I understand the mind of white privilege. And I'm in this session and we were talking, I was introducing, this is right after George Floyd laid down his life for us. And we were talking about that. And a young white woman says, how do you not stay sad all the time? How do you handle this? I'm just waking up to this. I haven't even had the experience you've had, and I want to cry all the time. And I sat there in the middle of this room of white folks and I said, it's so simple. I said, I come from a people in a country that has attempted in every opportunity to completely annihilate us from the planet, from the country, and still we rise. And I said to her, I said, I come from the creme de la creme. I come from the strongest of the strongest. I come from the best of the best. And I tap into that every single day. So is your personal identity, is your identity as a Black person, your identity as a child of God, they are all these things, and your identity for women as a woman, and for men to understand that order of creation, because we've gotten it out of order, you all. Woo, things start to turn around. So that's just the first key, y'all. Woo! So that's the identity key. So I want to introduce key number 2.
Breathe it in.
Got it, key number 2.
I got to add one other thing. Okay. So one of the questions I've asked myself is, what is it about melanated people, and the most melanated people, that have globally resulted in the attempt to suppress, oppress, and annihilate? Like, what do we not know about ourselves that have that happen so consistently globally? And the ingredient that we have in our composition is this melanin, and we don't understand the power of what's in us. That's the differential. So the same melanin in our skin is in our organs, it's in our blood, it's in the universe, giving it the black sky. And I'll just say this, and then you have to come to our subsequent sessions to hear more about it. But melanin is the M factor, the magical factor, the miraculous factor, because it's a divine electromagnetic semiconductor. Remember semiconductor from your computer days? So that means that our ability to go from thought to reality, to take spiritual cause and turn it into reality in our physical environment, 3D, is heightened. Our capacity is greater because of what's in us. There are conferences they have about melanin that we don't know about. Scientists get together, no Black people are present, and they talk about this amazing ingredient that's in our skin. And most of us don't know about the spiritual characteristics of melanin. So the M factor, whether you understand it or not, you got it, baby.
All right.
And it's real. And I think it's the reason we still walk the planet, especially in these United States, because it makes no sense that we still exist in this land. None. And we're still here because of this factor.
Still we rise.
And still.
Maximize, multiply. Well, it's interesting because that was actually my question for the key number 2.
Oh,
you. So key number 2, you all write this down, is the reframe key. The reframe key. And part of the impact of that melanin, and we got to get this, is that it moves people to action. It could be positive action or it could be negative action. But people are not the same once a melanated person walks into the space. It literally is designed to transform the atmosphere.
woo!
And we have not understood that, and we have not understood how to harness that. You know what I'm talking about. All of you have experienced it when you have walked into the room and you're like, what? Why is everybody stopped? I didn't even say anything. Everybody's looking at me. You didn't even do anything. You weren't even feeling your best that day. I've been like, do I have a booger? Like, what is happening? And you haven't said anything. It's because of what you carry, of who you are. And people begin to make comments about it. And, you know, all of these things begin to happen. Or adversely, because melanin multiplies, it exaggerates, not exaggerates, but it illuminates.
And amplifies.
Thank you, that's what I'm looking for. So let's say I'm somebody who came up in the street. My presence is going to impact. Somebody is going to respond by my presence. We've all experienced it. There may just be 2 Black men on the corner. And that power of those 2 melanated people coming together, it actually calls forth a reaction. What would it look like if we could take our eyes off of the world and off of everybody else and what they're, dealing with around Black people, and we can really focus in and reframe? And we're going to talk about focus in a little bit. And understanding that there is beauty in you. And I want to tell a story, and I'm going to go back to this melanin because that was my question to Debrena. I remember, you all, years ago, I had moved home. I was a single mother, needed support, moved back to Washington State to be with my parents for support. Then I moved to Seattle. I was working at a school, this preparatory school called Zion Prep Academy. And it was like it was like Black melanin genius. Oh, it was just amazing. Watching these little beautiful children in their uniforms, and oh, it was amazing. So I was working in the development office.
And it was all Black.
It was all Black. Teachers, the children, everything. Black excellence all the way around. Except the development office where I worked. So there was this woman who was my boss, and she was not melanated. And she would just stay on me. She would ride me. And I'm like, where are you? What are you doing? What? And I was like, what is wrong with this woman? And I remember going, I feel so oppressed. I just can't express myself. And our beloved, who I call my surrogate grandmother, Debrena's mentor, Dr. Maxine Mims, took me out to lunch because it was actually through her connection that I got that job. And she says, how are you doing? And I was like, oh, this woman drives me crazy. She won't leave me alone. She just whatever. And I will always remember what Dr. Mims said to me. She goes, oh, honey, she should tie you to your desk because she needs to just look at you all the time, because you can show up in your pajamas with your hair rollers in, and who you are without even trying is so beautiful that she wants to capture it.
Ah, come on now.
So she should absolutely chain you to your desk and stare at you and check on you all day, every day. And I was just blown away when Maxine said that. And once she did that, I was able to be free inside of that experience. Because
Say it again, you were able to what? Say it, you're able to be what?
Free
inside
of that experience.
Come on now.
Because I realized what the woman wanted. She was absolutely mesmerized, absolutely entranced with this thing, this beauty, this presence that I carried. I'm thinking I'm all jacked up, recovering single mom, oh, no. And when Maxine said that to me, I've understood ever since that moment what we carry and the response that it evokes, and been working my life to harness it and transform it and teach others to do the same. So Debrena, and this reframe key, is there anything else? Because this was my question for you. Can you share more about the M factor? What is it? And how does it impact more than the tone of your skin? So you answered the question before I even asked it. Anything else you want to share about this ineffable, amazing thing that we carry, this gift that we've been given by God called melanin?
Yeah. So when you, my mentor of 26 years, who's now 94 years young, is off the chain. And one of the reasons that I asked her to be my mentor back in 1997 was because she was the most truthful human I'd ever met. And she was one of Maya's besties before Maya passed. She would go to Maya's house every Thanksgiving, talk with her. I'd come out to visit her every quarter to have my sessions with her at her house, which was down a dirt road overlooking the water, no curtains, no TV, no electronics, only her amazing sound system. And she would just be getting off the phone with Oprah or Maya, because when Oprah met her on Maya's 72nd birthday cruise that Oprah paid for, Oprah was smitten by my mentor the same way everybody else is that meets her. And so now, every year since then, Oprah sends her the most amazing birthday gifts, and they talk all the time. That's who my mentor is. Okay, so with that said, she also, to add to that reframe she did with the pink lady at Zion, she said that we have antenna, right? Our hair defies gravity. In its natural state, it goes up. Now we're told what goes up must come down, not the coil pattern of black hair. Come on, somebody. Antenna, reading from our environment, combined with the melanin in our skin, which has the ability to transmute energy. That's the only way we could survive the terror and torture of enslavement. We could transport to another time and space. We had to.
Yeah.
In our imagination. We had to take the vitriol, the hatred coming at us, and transmute it into love amongst each other. The melanin handled that. It absorbs light and can transmute it. White reflects, this absorbs. That's why when you are in a group of other high vibe Black people, you could almost levitate. But if the vibe is funky, and we have some funk in our families or funk at a gathering, it can funk the other way just as strongly. So you want to be so intentional about what you bring to the planet. You don't want to squander the M factor, the magic and miraculous factor that's built into you. And you certainly don't want to buy the bad press that some other folks that don't look like you have very effectively put out about this. Talk about a PR campaign.
Woo,
So,
good. Yes.
and this is also why it's so critical that you power yourself up. You are like, you know, your cell phone has to be plugged in to the juice every night. Our juice is the creator. That's the juice that got you and I here. Because none of us are a piece of fruit not connected to somebody's branch. Our ancestors could not rely on juice from the culture, the American culture or the greater culture they were part of. They had to plug into some other juice. So your melanin allows you to be highly responsive to divine energy. So you better be getting plugged in every day. Unplugging from all this frenetic, crazy, ripping and running energy, chasing, striving, gotta keep up with, social media, crazy energy. You better unplug. Unplug from all that electronic energy from screens and screens. You better unplug and plug into the divine juice, not the electronic juice, because your melanin will respond to it.
And you know, the other thing that brings up, people will also try to plug into you and drain you. And then we're absorbing the stuff, we're taking on the stuff. But I talk to women all the time who are working on making the transition from the job world into entrepreneurship. And they all say the same thing. My job is so draining. My job is so draining, because there's this understanding in the spirit room, whether someone's conscious of it or not, that this is an energy source. Okay. And I'm going to try to plug in, whether it's a positive up level or a down level, you know, adjutant, but always trying to plug into the energy source. So you guys in the job world, you know how it looks. They're paying attention to what you wear, how your hair is today, you know, this, all this stuff. And, you know, I'm just trying to do work. But because of that energy source, we have to be clear about it. And we have to be able to understand how to refuel ourselves and how to plug in to be rejuvenated through meditation, not just prayer, receiving from on high.
Both. That's how you plug in. Electricity is a current.
Yes.
And you want to be plugged in to the current of the divine every day. Hit and miss once in a while, on, off. No, you miss 3 days with your cell phone, it'll be dead. 2 days, some of us, half a day. So every day you need to plug into the divine and power up your being, charge your melanin.
That's right.
And then that's how you change the atmosphere. You walk into a space and your melanin's charged because you plugged into the divine juice, and then bam, the atmosphere up levels. You don't have to do something or say something. Your presence is altering in the space.
Yeah, so good.
And a lot of us are not intentionally plugging into the divine juice, y'all. We're not. It's called practicing the presence, meaning one-on-one, quiet, sacred time devoted to connecting to the current of the Holy Spirit. It is real.
It is real.
And
So
it's not about religion, it's about how you're made. So don't get caught up in religion. That's man's attempt to reconnect to God. Religion was the intention. So we're talking about how you're made. We're made to be connected to the divine. Period.
So good.
So
take us on to key 3, sister.
Okay, I had a couple more reframes.
Okay, go ahead. Let's reframe.
Real quick. Oh my goodness. Wait. Okay, I'm looking at the time. Okay, so I want to give an example of a reframe as well. And I have Eric and I, when we were going through these keys, we were going back and forth like ping pong, thinking of stories and scenarios. Remember when for every single key. So there's a couple of reframe situations that I want to share about. I remember when back in 2008, when the real estate and banking market collapsed. At that time, my husband and I had 5 other houses that we owned in addition to the one we lived in. And then we had a 6th house that was a development house, building it from the ground up to sell. And the bank that we got our construction loan from went under and got bought out by another bank, and they put a hold on all releasing any more funds for construction loans in particular. So we had this house that was half built, and we still had dollars from the loan we'd been approved for that were not being released by the new owner of the bank who bought the one out that went belly up. Well, there was a construction company that we'd been using to do the building, and they wanted their money for the last part of the project they had completed. And we didn't have it because all funds were locked up. Well, they knocked on our door, had somebody knock on our door and presented us with, "We are suing you" papers. I freaked out. Oh my God, we're being sued. What? Now we got to get an attorney. Oh my God, attorneys are $3,000 retainer. I mean, I'm freaking out. I call my dad. We haven't shown that picture yet, have we?
Oh, let's show the parents.
Let's show the picture of our parents who both are still alive. They live an hour from me.
Can you all see that?
Can you all see our fabulous, beautiful parents? This is their 50th wedding anniversary picture. Oh, Dr. Thelma Jackson on the right, Nat Jackson on the left. Oh my goodness. Okay, thanks, Siege.
Yes.
So I remember being freaked out and calling my dad, because for business stuff, we always call our dad, right? Ericka will call daddy, I'll call daddy, Nathaniel will call daddy.
Well, by the way, you all, we didn't say this in the intro. My parents built a multi-million-dollar business when we were growing up. There's a reason why we call him for business. Okay, go ahead.
Wow. And he says to me, "Honey, you haven't really started to be a serious business person until you've been sued." I'm like, "What? This is a freaking rite of passage. I'm over here freaking out." And it changed everything because I was perceiving it differently now. I was still being sued, but now it was a badge of honor. I'm like, okay, well, shoot, I can survive. I'm not the first to be sued. And do you know, I went to the law library and studied up because we could not afford an attorney at the time. And we represented ourselves up against this big, huge construction company, Parsons Brinkerhoff. And we got them to delay a suit, went down and met with the president, represented ourselves. They delayed the suit so we could short sell the house, even half built. And we did. We didn't even have an attorney. We couldn't afford $3,000 retainer. We're Black excellence. Let's go get our little IQ up. We don't need to be freaked out. So that was one situation.
I have to interject because I have not heard that story.
Oh, yeah, girl.
I thought I was the only one with the "Daddy, I'm getting sued" story. Well, I have my very own. I don't know if you know this. So I raised my daughter. I was a single mother. My goal was to be a millionaire by the age of 30. I was going to be a bestseller, all of these things. And there was something that manifested in my life because I could write a business plan. I could give a speech. Nobody taught me about men. Remember, we grew up in Lacey, Washington. Attention from Black men was not something that came with that package at the time. So
It was scanty, girl. It was scanty.
it was scanty. You had to go to the proms with your girlfriends. Okay. All right. So anywho, so I was moved back to Seattle.
Oh, your cousin.
Or your cousin, right? Or your friend that they lent you their boyfriend. Yeah. Okay. So I was living in Seattle, and I knew I was called to be a keynote. I had been building my Tiffany's from Lacey. She says, "Speak my whole life. You just spoke all that." So I was a single parent. I think my daughter was 4 at the time, and we were living in Seattle. And I was itching to get out to the world, but I could not because I was a single mom. So early on, I said, how can I bring the world to me? Because the average keynote or itinerant minister was on the road 300 days of the year. So I began to be an early adopter of technology. And this is long before constant contacts and, you know, all this monkey stuff and all the stuff we have now, MailChimp, and all this,
girl.
the monkey chimp, whatever, all this stuff. There was this new adopter of e-blast technology, and I didn't know any better at the time, but I signed this contract that they charged me per email. And I was sending out emails, and they were like, cha-ching, cha-ching, rake, and they sent me a $9,000 bill for like 1 month of emails. And I was like, what just happened? And I was new.
Oh my gosh.
I was on a total faith walk, and I get this $9,600 bill. And I didn't take the contract to my dad. And I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm being sued. I don't have money right now. I'm doing a startup business nobody knew what coaching was. Thought I was a basketball coach. I'm like, no, a life coach. They didn't know what that meant. I was like, okay, get this bill. And they're like, oh, we're suing you because you signed this contract, you need to pay this money. So finally I broke down and called my dad, and I was just ready for I don't know, I was geared for some lecture or something, because he always said to us, you can't get the A-, you're a Jackson, get the A+. So I was like, okay, just put your armor on, girl, you need help. So I called my dad, still call him daddy to this day. I said, Daddy, I'm just so embarrassed. I apologize I didn't come to you sooner, but I'm being sued. And he just sat there on the phone, what felt like an hour, must have been 10 seconds. And he just started cracking up. He goes, baby, congratulations. And I was like, what? He says, oh no, honey, you're not even in business seriously till you at least get one good suing. And I didn't know you had a suing story also. And I got so free that moment. And couldn't afford an attorney, went and checked it out and found out I was so broke, I wasn't suable at the time. And so I got totally free. I was like, oh, I don't have assets. There's nothing they can do right now. Just relax and go on and build your business. But it was Daddy's reframe of that. And that has been time and time again. So it sounds like you have another reframe story. I just had to share that. I had no idea you had a sued, talk to daddy conversation.
This is hilarious. But I do remember you telling me about that. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
That's okay. I'll save my other reframe story because I want to be sure we get to the other 2 keys.
So I'll introduce key number 3, you all. We just like parked on 2, but there's another 2 coming. It is the F as in focus, the I as in intention, the A as in attention. So the FIA key, which is focus, intention, and attention. And so Debrena, I want to ask you a question. I want to talk about, what are your secrets as you've been in business, gosh, I've been in business 26 years. You've been in business, what, 30 years now?
95.
Yeah, so no paycheck since 1995. It was about, 2001 for me, formally, not on the side. And I want to know, what are your secrets to staying focused and intentional in the process of your manifesting your business, whether it was your real estate empire, whatever you've ever done, it has turned to gold. And what is your process of FIA?
Woo! Ooh, that's so good. So I think the first step for everybody is clarity, because the way God has created the universe is to respond to the clearest signal. So if your signal that's funky and negative is clearer, then your signal of what you desire, what you want to manifest, your passion, the funky signal wins out. Life is not judging the good or bad of the signal. It's set up to respond to the strongest and clearest signal. So I have been very, very intentional about being sure my signal is clear. And one of the ways I've done that is I don't just think about it. I don't just think about it. I don't just mull it over. I get it out of my head and I write it down and make it plain. So I literally have a stack of journals that if you put them on top of each other, they'd be probably 2 feet high. And you can look back because Ericka has journals, I have journals, we date the front of our journals. So I can go back to 99 and you will see me stating what I want to manifest. You can go to 2001, 2000, 2011, stating what I want to manifest in the present tense. The subconscious mind loves present tense because that's the way it thinks. Conscious mind thinks past, present, future. Conscious mind is past, present, future. Subconscious is everything is now. So that's why you can go watch a horror movie and be screaming. You're watching a flat screen. Why are you screaming? Those are actors. That's fake blood. But because it pulls you in, you lose track of this is not real life, or you just sit there quietly and continue to chew your popcorn. You wouldn't be tensing up and screaming, right, when the guy jumps out from the closet. The subconscious loses track. Oh, wait, this isn't real, but we'll still scream and heart beating fast. So speak in the present tense. I also use something called, I call it sensorizing. A lot of people say visualize, but that only engages a part of your sensory equipment. So when you take visual, internal image, in vision, and you add the feeling of it already being real and manifested right now in the present, and then you got the M factor, it's undeniable. It's just a matter of when, not if. So clear signal, write it down. Don't just visualize, infuse it with the feeling of it being real right now.
So good.
Many of us are missing one of those pieces. We're missing a piece. Then there's tools I use. So if you can see on my wall here in my office, I have 2 vision boards. Because vision boards are a tool. So that, because your subconscious also thinks in terms of images. So it puts images in front of my eyes that represent what I want to make real in my 3D life. So my journals are tools. Vision boards are tools. And then I have a third tool. Well, I have many tools, but a third tool is something I call a manifestation letter. For those that are in Juicy Woman University, it's called your Juicy Vision Letter. For those in Bountiful, we call it your manifestation letter. So I write a letter, present tense, and I go 3 months out, right? A quarter at a time. And I write what I want to have going on when I open that letter 3 months later. Seal it up. I don't go back and read it every day. Write it, seal it up, put the date on it, come back, open it up. Celebrate the stuff that manifested, go into deep praise, gratitude, appreciation. And then for those things that might not have manifested yet, it goes on my next manifestation letter 3 months later. It's a matter of when, not if. So, and then the last piece I'll say for now is that so many of us are focused on managing our time. That is not my primary framework for how I live my life. I am focused on managing my energy, So if someone says, hey, Debrena, can you do something on Saturday, August, whatever? A lot of us would look in our calendar, and if we don't have anything scheduled, we say, yeah, I'm available. There's a second rubric I send everything through, which is, hold up, let me look at my week. Let me look at the early part of the day. Let me look at the day before. What effect will it have on my energy? And I'm so intentional about engaging in friendships, relationships, clients, students, all that, where I'm energized, not depleted. Yeah. And in my calendar, the way I schedule things is to honor my energy, managing my energy, not just time. If, like when Ericka and I were working on this seminar today, I scheduled time in my calendar to actually get my thoughts down. I didn't just say, oh gosh, yeah, I got to get my thoughts down. I put it in my calendar. My mind is now freed up. It has its own time slot. Excuse me. And I'm not multitasking and remembering at the last minute and slopping something together. Everything holds the space, but it's based on my energy.
So good.
So most people don't check in with that.
Yeah.
You say yes because of time or who's asking. Okay. And the more you reference your energy, the quicker you assess it and can see if this is a yes or is this a no.
That's
so if I'm invited to like 2 fabulous things on a Saturday, I'm like, okay, I'll go to one and I'll leave early and go to the other. No. Let me take a look at which of these from an energy standpoint is going to be most reciprocal and energizing. Okay, that's the one I'm going to go to. I'm going to be fully present, stay all the way to the end, not leave early and miss that ending and miss the beginning of another one, trying to get half of it. Whole experience, totally present. Build in transition time. So those would be some focus, intention, and attention. Some tools, orientation to life.
Good. Yeah. And I know, from being able to be a observer of your life, my whole life, you set up your world in a different way. So it is truly, you all, if there was a model, Debrena's got God at the center, and then she is the next partaker of her energy. And she makes sure that that cup is full, so then it overflows to everybody else. And it took me years to learn that, because as a single parent, as whatever, I was at the end, the outer rung of my universe. So everybody else got stuff. There was God, there's my daughter, there's, everybody else. And I would get myself the sloppy leftovers. And so that is something that, she has modeled like none other. And it is real. It is real. And I see it being modeled in my nieces because they witnessed that their whole life. And it is truly awesome. You cannot give what you don't have. And so she's been intentional about living that way. And so I don't know if you had a question for me.
I do.
Okay, I'll go.
FIA key, focus, intention, and attention. So one of the things you all may not know about Ericka is she can take almost any project, from putting together a piece of IKEA furniture to learning.
Well, I just put an office chair together last night. That's why I'm laughing. Okay, go ahead.
Well, that's funny.
I want to hear this.
Right, all the way to some new software that other people are running, screaming into the woods, and Ericka will focus in on it and be a master at the back office and the back end and can program the darn thing. So her vertical knowledge is mind-blowing. Like all the things she's mastered just vertically is amazing. So with that little background, my question to you is, what would most people have no idea about in terms of how you manage to stay focused, intentional, and attentive to all the things you do? Like, not what you teach in your classes, but what most people would never even know unless they were like hanging out with you for a couple of weeks. What's that little known element that makes the biggest difference for you in the FIA key?
I teach everything. Let's think.
Okay. Okay.
I document my process and share it with my students, but let me think. That's a good question. Give me a second here. Okay. So, a friend of mine sent me for my birthday, which was 2 days ago, my 51st birthday. She sent me this beautiful canvas photo, like it was a framed quote. And it said, I'm going to look it up on my phone. And this is the secret of secrets for me. And it said, where is it? It said, she talked to God daily, and that is what made her lovely. And early on,
Wow.
yeah, she talked to God daily, and that is what made her lovely. And early on, probably, I mean, we've always been spiritual as far as I can remember, and understanding who Jesus was and going to church. But for me, when I moved to Raleigh about 14 or 15 years ago, everything changed. And I began to ask God different questions. And I began to ask because I knew if I was called to something, I knew God put something in my DNA. I knew there was purpose. I knew it was huge. I knew it was generational. So certainly there had to be a conversation in heaven about me, not from an arrogant standpoint, but I begin to ask God different questions. I call them kingdom questions. And I do it every day. And God began to open up things to me, revelation to me. He began to open up the book of life, my book of life. There is a book in heaven with our names on it, and it holds our life's blueprint in God's design. And most of us get off track and we don't know what that is. And every single morning, without fail, I tap into my book of life, and I need to know where I'm at, where I'm supposed to be. And my first question to God every morning is, God, how do I close the gap between who you created me to be and who I am? Because my absolute fanatical obsession in life is to fulfill who God called me to be. And I have huge vision, huge dreams. And my Lord tells me that beyond what I can think or imagine is mine. And I don't want to leave a drop of that unexpressed. I don't want to leave the millions of people I'm called to impact untouched. And I focus on that, probably, as my husband's on here, he would say, with absolute immovable focus. And it is what I eat. It is what I breathe. It is what I pray for. And it is what I talk to God about every single day, because I need to know. I need to know, God, what are you and the angels, when you talk about me, what do you call me? What do you say? Who did you create me to be? And so my secret of secrets is being able to ask God questions, and God loves questions, and He started to answer them. And so the clarity, it's like if you're listening to music and the frequency is so dead on, the clarity that I have about who I am and what I'm called to do. I don't have to figure it out anymore. Just, God, what did you design the Alliance to be? What did you design Kingdom Ministers Association to be? I asked God one time, how much did you call me to steward in the world? Do you know what He told me? He told me $33 billion. Not that it would all be mine. I'm to steward it out of people, to steward it into the right hands. And I thought, I was excited to be a millionaire, to work on that. 33 billion, I had to change my questions. And so every single day I wake up from the position seated with the Father in Christ. What does that look like? I'm designed to rule. I'm designed to impact. How do I rule my mind, my heart, my body first, and then let it ripple out from there? And I am absolutely immovable about it. It does not matter what people say to me. It does not matter how crazy people get. It does not matter when people bring, it's non-negotiable. And anything but that, I do not allow it to stay in my mind, and I pull it up in 10 seconds or less and can transform it back into positive action. And this is with, you guys, storms swirling around me. I don't care, because if I do what God called me to do, if I become the person God called me to become, everything else will move in to order. I just refuse to let someone's smallness, I refuse to let someone's lack of self-worth, I refuse to let someone who doesn't know who they are impact who God tells me I am. That is mine. No one else can take it from me. I'm not going to give it to anybody. And I own it. I own my mind. I own my heart. I own my beingness. And I live from that place unapologetically. So that's like, you guys, it's fanatical. I don't even say it out loud.
Take
like,
a sip.
my
Take
journal.
a
Girl,
sip.
let me get a straw. But I'm saying I am absolutely immovable about that. And I just won't allow anything to take me off track. You don't have a right to do that.
My.
Woo! You guys got me preaching up in here.
I love it. We love it. Bring it, baby. Bring it.
My fan out. Gotta get my old lady fan out, girl. Woo! Woo! Yes, yes.
Woo!
That's it. And the other thing, when we talk about focus, intention, and attention, one of the things I understand, it may not be in my hands fully to the degree that God, even touching the surface of what God has, but I am absolutely clear that wealth in all of its forms is my divine birthright. So wealth in all of its forms is my divine birthright. So health, the fullness of health, the fullness of joy, the fullness of love, the fullness of amazing relationships, the fullness of recreation, finances, spiritual wealth, land, whatever it is not just something I'm aspiring to. It's not something I'm striving for. It's who I am. And all I have to do, if I tap inside, it's going to be expressed on the outside. I don't need anybody's permission. I don't need any of that. And I honestly believe that whatever someone can do without Jesus, I should be able to dwarf it with him. So whatever wealth someone has in the world, whatever time they've gotten, I have the ability. You add Jesus to my melanin, and my God, you guys, there's nothing we can't do.
Add what? The J&M factor? Come on now.
And so I am fanatical, probably obsessed. I might need some counseling around it, but I'm telling you, nobody gets this. I will complete this. And I noticed I turned 50 last year, and I said, y'all, I need a t-shirt that says 50 and feisty, because I ain't taking no prisoners. We got to stop playing. We got to stop playing. Every moment, every thought, everything, it counts toward something. What are we building? What is the vision? Do you know where you're going? Do you have a vision big enough? Because my word says that a good man builds inheritance for his children's children. I have a vision for my daughter Kali's unborn children. And I live in that and build from that and write every contract and every bylaw and everything as if I'm thinking 2 generations out. That's what we were raised to do. And so that's it, y'all. And I do my heart work because there's a whole piece when Debrena talks about, what you call it, sensitizing. I call it writing on your heart, wrapping your emotions as if it's already been done. That is something we both do. We have different language for it, but.
What do you call it? I call it sensorizing. I made it up. What do you call it?
Writing on your heart.
Okay.
Yeah, allowing your emotions to wrap around it as if you already received it. Woo! And so, I am fanatical. Like that's it. There's nothing else to talk about.
Wow.
And if you ain't heading somewhere, I can't be around you. I just can't even take it, you guys. I just can't. Like I barely can take small talk. So I was like, I can't go to these networking events and just like, oh, what do you do? And this is what I do. And, here's my card. And, let's exchange some recipes. I just can't do it. So I just made my own network. I was like, I live deep, so I need to create a network with other deep people.
Deep people.
So yeah, that's it, y'all. And I'm determined to bring as many people that want to come along with me on the journey in changing the world as possible, because that's what we're up to.
That's the Black Excellence Movement right there in a nutshell. That's what we's about.
But you talked about, I want to mention this because I uncovered this really recently. I had this low-grade agitation for years and I couldn't figure out why. So my thing was, okay, be more productive, be more this. And this is low grade agitation. It started stirring up me more and more. I was like, I can't get all this out. And then every time I write the next book or create the next course, God brings me 10 more things. I'm like, this is impossible. And I begin to say, okay, God, I need to decode how to think and be differently, because where I've been is not going to get me to where I want to go. And he began to show me how to how to wrap my life around my genius.
Woo!
How to identify my genius, and that becomes my priority. And anything that is not flowing in my highest and best use. And I have been reading about this for years and trying, but man, I said, I'm looking at my wall. I've got a genius calendar. My time is blocked out to lead with my genius and to identify my genius and to get everything else. I'm on a 2-year plan to get everything else that is not me operating 100% of my time in my genius off of my plate. And that finally, that low grade agitation that I had carried for years, it finally is gone. Because what I was feeling was a frustration because I wasn't getting to my genius. And so I've shifted that, gotten clear about what my genius is, and reorganized everything around it. And it has been a game changer. So that's something I just want to share.
Well, I know we have another key, but there's one other thing I got to add on to this one, and we may have to stay on for 15 extra minutes each for Q&A.
I'm down.
So we are the fruit of Nat and Thelma. And my dad, from a health and wellness standpoint, has always been leading edge, cutting edge. And then the culture catches up. The American culture catches up with what he's already been doing for 10 years. And so he was a runner, a jogger, a runner back in the early 80s. Every day, no matter what, rain, shine, sleet, or snow, be out there running with his Discman, if y'all remember that, the Discman. And then he shifted to jump roping. When he found out that it's the best all-around terrestrial exercise that you can do, he switched to jump roping about a decade ago. And he gave himself this nickname, the Jump Rope King. And he decided to wrap it into his motivational speaking. So I'll come and talk to you about wellness, because if you don't have health, you don't have wealth, and everything else is built upon that. And I'll do your motivational presentation. So he was calling himself the Jump Rope King, and he's a speed jump roper. He had a hat that said Jump Rope King. He had a jacket that said Jump Rope King. He had
still has. Has to this moment. He has it on right now, I'm sure.
And he would not go anywhere without a jump rope. So like our middle daughter played AAU basketball before she went on to scholarship basketball playing in college. And I remember at the AAU games, he'd come in and he'd be in the corner jump roping. Now, it attracted attention because he was like 69 years old at the time, right? And here's this dude speed jump roping. So then he had an audience, and he loves audiences. Now, me, Ericka, and Nathaniel all speak to audiences. Where'd we get that from? Our daddy and our mom, who's the speaker too. But he kept saying, I'm jump rope king, I'm jump rope king, I'm jump rope king, I'm jump rope king, I'm jump rope king. And I'll be darned. Steve Harvey's show, Forever Young, found my dad on YouTube and called him and said, we do highlights on people that are over 65, that are living their best life and doing things that defy the odds. We saw your YouTube of you jump roping on the Capitol steps in Olympia, because he used to work for the governor. So he went to the Capitol steps to jump rope and come down the steps all fast. They called him to be on the show. He made the cut. I was his publicist, because if you're going to be on national TV, then shoot, you got to have a publicist. So I became an instant publicist and negotiated, and he needs this and he needs that. My dad went on national TV, Forever Young, Steve Harvey's hit show. They had a person from the National Jump Rope Association there to time him, and he set the record for the oldest, fastest speed jump roper in the United States of America. What the heck? So now he really is the Jump Rope King. And he did that at age 72. He's now 78. He, in that NBC studio, he went into that focus zone. I was there and watched him zone. He didn't miss a single jump. And in 60 seconds, they clocked him. You just set a national record, Mr. Jackson. On that, most of us would be so nervous. He went into that zone and it was amazing. So that's the tree from which we come.
Wait, but you didn't tell the second part of the story. So the following, two birthdays later, he calls the woman who timed him on the Steve Harvey show up because he wanted to break his own record. And he did it at 75.
And into Lacey, Washington, right? Because Joe went, my husband went and picked the chick up from the airport, drive her down to, oh my goodness. Oh my God.
And every year, you guys, he calls me and he goes, okay, baby, I'm 75 this year. What is it? I don't want to be 75 and still alive. Like he sets an annual theme. And so he's like, I'm 78. And I said, Daddy, you're still great. So then he's going to walk around talking about that all 78 and probably
make
get
a
it on
t-shirt.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. So we're now on the final key. Y'all ready? The final key starts with an R and the word is resonance. Resonance is where a vibration is transferred to something or someone else, and the vibration strengthens and gets stronger. Resonance is a key. Being deliberate about putting yourself in high vibe places, spaces, relationships, and situations so that your vibe can be amplified and you're with people who are contributing to the vibe, not trying to tap into it and drain your butt. All right? Because melanin generates more energy. That's why when melanin folks are around non-melanated folks, we like, ooh, I'm so drained. Spark plugs, jumper cables plugged in to your energy. That's why you feel drained. Literally, it's leaving you like vampiric. I call them energy vampires. Yes, I did. Because that's how it felt like, locking in. And my energy is flowing over to you. That's why you want to be around me. That's why you want me on your boards. Resonance. I remember, and I'm going to ask you the question, Age. I remember 2017, I started an empowerment movement here in Seattle called Elevate. And it was all about positive Blackness, Black love, Black health and wellness, Black economic empowerment, Black personal growth and development, Black spiritual development, all about Blackness, loving Blackness. And I see one of the gentlemen on the line who was one of our speakers. I don't know if Devin is still on. And so we have these fabulous speakers, and elevate your, and then whatever the word, elevate your money, elevate your health, elevate your wealth, elevate your mindset. Everyone was speaking on elevate your insert. Well, a lot of people had never been in such a high vibe, positive environment with beautiful, loving, progressive Black people. We had 172 people at my first event at the hotel near the airport. And the resonance that occurred in the space almost blew the lid off the hotel. And all of the front desk staff was like, who are you all? What is going on? Like, oh my gosh, something is happening in that room. What is it? And we were outside the room at a break, and we are all suited and booted because it's a professional event. So everybody's got their best on. The brothers are spatted, got ties. The women, hey, nails done, hair laid, dresses, butter suits. And we had some Caucasian people one room over from us. And when they came out for their break and we were outside for our break, I literally saw how the energy was so intense from the resonance of the group. It was like direct sunlight. And they literally almost all went in the corner and started cringing. It was amazing. They didn't know what to do. And even as they walked through the group to go to the bathroom, they all had their heads down, every single one of them. It was crazy. So I saw the power of what happens when we come together with other high vibe folks. It takes everything to a whole nother level. So that's what we mean by resonance. So, Eej.
Yes. Yes, Deej.
So you have a I ain't playing life assignment. So what are things that you do to be in high vibe scenarios so that the resonance is up here and not down here? How do you set that up in your world?
So a couple things. What comes to mind immediately, so when God told me that I was called to steward $33 billion, the rest of the story is this. He had me say, okay, well, if the alliance is going to be 1,000 chapters and you're going to create 30 millionaire businesses out of each one, do the math. And it was $30 billion. I was like, oh, it's not my money. I'm stewarding it. And I realized I wasn't around that resonance. And it wasn't enough of me, right? But I wasn't around that resonance. And so I said, well, I need to go find where the billionaires hang out and where the millionaires hang out. And I need to go. And I remember talking to God about it. And he gave me assignment on 2 or 3 different organizations. And he said, now I want you to be very clear that you're not going to be invited to the table, that you're there because I sent you, so therefore you belong there. You will have to elbow your way in and take your own place setting, but make no mistake, you belong at the table.
Come on now.
So the first thing I did is I identified the tables I needed to sit at. I took my own place setting, and I could care less what their response was to me because I was called to be there. And I did not reduce my energy to make them more comfortable. This wasn't Black folks, y'all. These are, very wealthy, non-melanated people. And I just stayed focused. I knew what I was called to do. And it's so fascinating. I really believe in the circles God has placed me in. It's to change the water level. We're from the Seattle area. There's something in Seattle called the Ballard Locks. And because Lake Washington is one level, to get to the Pacific Ocean, which is a different water level, ships and large boats have to go through the Ballard Locks. And what the Ballard Locks does is it changes the water level so the boat can come out of the lake level and come into the ocean. So I'm really clear that I'm called to change the atmosphere wherever I go. I'm called to change the atmosphere. So that's when I'm going around non-melanated people. Understand, I got my own place setting. I'm unoffendable because I do my heart work. I don't need your significance. I don't need any of that. I'm clear about who I am. I don't care what you think. I belong here and I'm going to be fully myself. And you can be uncomfortable. And I sign my own paycheck. So I do not have to worry about losing a job in the process because I am free. So I get to be free. That's something our parents modeled our whole lives. They signed their own paychecks, so they were free as Black folks. So I got to see that modeled. And so, and my mind's free. So I'm not walking with any of the lie that I'm less than, none of that. So that's the first thing. I own the environment where I am, and I don't have to say a word because I'm always waiting for the Holy Spirit to speak. I don't have to say anything. The second thing is that I create environments. If I'm not getting enough of that resonance, I create environments. And because I produce so many courses and I'm back, getting this stuff out to get the back end transformation system before the show came. Now the show's here, I can put it on, put it on fleek, as Kiki would say. Did I get that right, Kiki? I hope so. But what I do is I pray for and call out and get in circles of people with Rolodexes because I don't have time to do all the networking. I need to connect with high resonance people who are not threatened by me, who are happy to open up their network to me. And so from the very time I came into Raleigh, those were the individuals that God brought me. So I don't have time to meet 10 of you and go to 50 events. I have time to connect and to build relationship, be authentic, and then the networks open up. And that's one of the things I've done. And I have no shame about finding those individuals. I will pick up the phone. I will introduce myself. Like, I'm serious about being around high resonance, in particular Black women who are clear and who are not threatened by my shine and by my light, and who say, bring it on. And then I also see that in other women that, I have mentorships and different things that we're elevating together. So I hope that answers that. But just being around people who think excellently, who are not complaining, but who are becoming and being the change that they desire to see, and who understand they belong at the table, or you just build your own and invite others to come.
Well.
And Debrena, you know what? You said you built this movement recently. You were doing the Enlightened Women and Men Circle in the 80s.
Well, 90. Yeah, 90.
No, it was the 80s, because when I left for school in 88, you guys were going strong. It was the 80s, and you would bring enlightened Black folks together. So you've been doing this for decades. So I was around all that, and I got to see what that looks like and who we are and what excellence looks like and what we can do with when we're not waiting on permission. So I have a question for you, because I know we're there. I was reading back over our notes as we were talking about this. You talked about, because I was like, okay, so if we're taking the whole corporate national conversation about Black people off of our radar, we're not looking at white people and what they're doing and what they give us permission to do, and you know what, none of that is relevant, right? Because it's at our feet, just who we are.
Did y'all get that? It's at your feet.
It's at our feet. It's just who we are. We don't have to strive for anything. You don't have to be angry. It's just like, just do you. But you talked about, because I was like, well, then what do I focus on? And you said walking in truth. And you talked about how we walk in truth and how truth impacts people when we become the truth in a space. And I want you to talk about that as we close this last key. Do you remember what you were saying and talking about?
Well, I think I do. Well,
the conversation and being the truth.
Yeah, thank you. Well, one of my focuses right now is helping to get people healed. We are unhealed. As a country, we are unhealed as Black people from the past and the present. And the accumulation of what we are holding in our bodies has now reached the full point, and the poison needs an outlet, because we've been functioning amazingly on top of a whole bunch of stuff. Square one, when you decide I'm going to do my healing work, which is different from personal growth work, which is different from personal reflection work, which is different from personal awareness work. Healing work has very specific characteristics. It's based in telling the truth. Square one. And what I have come to recognize is that this culture, the American culture, is not built on truth. And I don't mean being honest. I mean, truth has a resonance. It has a specific vibration. Like if you hook it up to a what is it called? Electroencephalograph, something that reads vibration, it would have a very high reading when you are speaking from a place of truth. Yeah. And so when you speak from a place of truth, the vibration emanates outward, and it affects the space and the people in the space. And I saw the amazing and rapid transformation that could happen in someone talking to my mentor. I'm like, what is going on that they actually look different 5 minutes after speaking with her? What's going on? She's speaking truth. Couched in love, so there's nothing she can't say because the love is strong enough to contain the truth, right? So many things, I don't want to say anything, I want to hurt their feelings. You better make your love bigger. Okay, I've been asking God for healing. Well, did you ask God how you've misused your body or misunderstood your body or interfered with your body's natural healing that now it's manifesting disease? Have you asked that question? Are you ready for that truth? Well, I divorced my husband. Okay, well, your marriage ended in divorce. What part did you play in what didn't work? I know you can run down what he did, but in terms of where you are in your acknowledgement, marriage is a co-created experience. So how did you participate in the outcome?
That's good.
Where did you not keep your word? Being truthful. So because I had it modeled for me and I saw the power of it, I have practiced being truthful with myself first. And for those of you in Juicy Woman University, you know that that's a high value. And it amazes me how slick we've gotten, how slimy we've gotten, how excuse-oriented we've gotten, instead of being truthful.
Woo.
So truth has a vibration. It has a certain hertz frequency. Vibration is measured in hertz, H-E-R-T-Z, like the rental car company. And so many of us are vibing at a lower than truth level because we've gotten slick, and there's a lot of room for slickness in the European-based culture in which we find ourselves.
Woo.
And so, you know, you and Nathaniel will call me and say, okay, I need to have a difficult conversation. I said, there's no conversation that's difficult. It's words. Don't perceive it as difficult. There should be nothing you cannot say. It's the meaning you're putting on the words. Don't call it difficult. Say, oh, there's a conversation I need to have. Mm-hmm. And when you come from truth, wrapped in love, there's no conversation you should not be able to have. So that is, and so your vibration is emitting a signal 24/7. It isn't just what you think or say. You represent a collective vibration. So I really work to keep mine purified so that what is drawn to it is naturally high vibe. I don't have to be distrusting and cautious, and because I am working on keeping my vibe clear and pure and cleaned out, doing my healing work, my forgiveness work, my truth-telling work. Yeah. So I don't have to live in caution, because I already know how spiritual law works. Like unto itself is drawn. As a woman thinketh, it says man in scripture, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Think in his heart. Your heart has neurons, your heart thinks. That's why so much in the Bible is about the heart. I work in keeping my heart cleaned out. Woo! The amount of electricity the heart generates is mind-blowing.
Yes.
And so keeping my heart cleaned out. So all that is based in truth. And so much of scripture talks about truth, truth, truth. And we kind of brush it off. We think it's just being honest. Truth has a vibration.
So good.
And it's a very attractive vibration. It draws strong.
And it transforms.
Yes, sets you free. The truth shall what? Make you free. That's why it's healing.
Woo!
Woo! So, oh my gosh. Girl, these folks are staying on the line. We almost 15 minutes over. Ain't nobody hung up.
Oh. Where's my mic? This is my mic. I'm dropping the mic.
Drop the mic, girl. Woo! Woo! So we just want you all to unmute your phone for a minute. And if, not yet, Tiffany Carter. And here's what we want you to do, because we want a little feedback here. Remember, this is a big reveal. First time collabing, joint, okay? So if you got the energy and you got the message and something was said that for you zapped you personally, we want you to unmute and say, what do we want to say, girl? What's the word?
Booyah!
Booyah! So unmute. Unmute.
Booyah!
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 Booyah.
Booyah!
Did we get the booyahs in?
Booyah!
Booyah! Ooh, I'm booyahing over here.
Yeah, booyah.
All right.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, let's have the brothers booyah. Unmute, brothers. Let's hear the brothers booyah. Let's hear the brothers.
Booyah.
Booyah!
I love it. Well, we're going to wrap this up and we're going to stay on. Can you stand for 15 more minutes once we do the official wrap up each? So for folks who want,
I'm happy
Okay.
to answer questions.
so we're going to officially complete this free seminar. And for those of you who have your handout, we have our information at the bottom of the handout. So if you want Ericka's website, you want Ericka's phone number, you want Ericka's email, it's on the handout. You want Debrena's website, you want Debrena's email, you want Debrena's phone number, it's on the handout. So just know you have that information. If you need to reach out to us, want to reach out to us, this is the beginning of a movement called the New Black Excellence Movement. And this is what's called a doorway event. So we are going to be back again. We're going to give you a couple months to absorb it, do your work. And then October 30th, which is a Wednesday, we're going to be back with our next free doorway event.
It's a Saturday, Deej. The 30th is Saturday.
Oh, hang on. I gave you the wrong date.
You want to do Thursday, the 28th?
I gave you the wrong date. Hang on. What date did we say, girl?
You said Wednesday, October 30th. So it's Wednesday,
October 20th.
October 27th.
October 20th. October 20th.
Thank you. Yes, October 20th. There we go.
Mark your calendar now. We had 72 people sign up for this free event, and we had 50 folks at the height. 50 out of 70 is an amazing turnout for a free event. So we want to double that next time, which means each of you gets to be an ambassador and say, you need to become part of this movement. You need to be on this next doorway event. We're trying to create some momentum up in here. We're trying to get some minds and bodies and hearts and relationships and pocketbooks and wallets and bank accounts free up in here. Okay. So October 20th, that's when we will have our next doorway event as part of the Black Excellence Movement. Let me see, is there anything else we want to say? Oh, we're going to send out the recording of this to all of you. We know there was a few people that could not make it. And it's for you, those who were part of this group, and those who did not make their way to register and be here. In several more days, we're going to make it available as a product that people can purchase. But they got to pay because they weren't here. You get it for free. You see how that works? So just know we're going to be sending out this as a paid product, first giving you a chance to get it for free and use it for yourself. And we hope to see you again in a few months, a few weeks actually. And we want everybody to bring some other people with them. So Ej, as we close, what are your final words? And then we'll go into Q&A for those who must sign off.
Well, I want to just thank you guys for showing up, because we didn't know what we were coming to. We didn't know what was going to come out of our mouths. We just knew, like, this thing called Black Excellence, we have to start a conversation about it for real, and from a different place. So thank you all for taking time, for coming. We tried a different time frame. You guys still showed up. And then I want to invite you guys to watch my show. We are, there was 11 episodes we taped. It's the Ericka James Show, Life on Purpose. And you can go to the Ericka, this actually isn't on your handout. You can go to my main website, but the erickajameshow.tv. And I spell my name Ericka.
Is it V in front? V
Yeah.
Ericka?
Yeah, the erickajameshow.tv.
Okay, great.
So I invite you. Yeah, thank you. So I invite you guys to just go binge watch. It's streaming on demand. So excited about that. And I just want to honor my sister because you've always modeled this, and you've always been that go-to call that I can make. Like, it's amazing to have your best counsel in your family. And I know we all didn't grow up with families that were supportive and there. But I just thank you for being my sister, for being the one that makes sure we gather, and just, being willing to do this with me. I'm really excited about that. So thank you all. And thank you, Deej.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So for those, do we want to have the Q&A off recording? Let's take it off recording in case, folks want to ask those questions. They don't want other people to.
Okay. So are we officially closing the?
Yes, we are officially closing.
Closing the recorded session. Thank you guys. Woo!
And we are staying on for 10 more minutes for those who want the what we call afterglow.